Hey everybody, it's Josh Cline with the Built to Last podcast. Today, our guest, Shawn with Lawn Pride. Welcome, Shawn.
Thanks, Josh, for having me.
Man, I'm so excited to have you. You've been treating my lawn for, what, a year and a half now?
Yeah.
2 years. And every time my wife looks outside, she's like, this is notably different than what we had. So it's always great to find a service like yours that really does take care of the customer and makes a big difference in their lives. So now our grandson can go out and play in the yard all the time, and we don't have to worry about, ugly grass too. So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you got a great lawn, so it's been a pleasure treating it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about how you got into this?
Sure. So lawn care, I grew up as a golfer as a kid, and so I always had a fond appreciation of nice looking grass, nice well-maintained lawns, and I started cutting grass when I was a kid as well too, to make money on the side, and I took a career transition into finance and then found my way back into lawn care. I really like to deliver my knowledge and my experience of ergonomics to my clients and my customers and give them the lawns that they really look for.
Yeah, and you do. I'm a huge fan of that. So when we're talking about lawns, there's so many different, you educated me over the last couple of years and what I need to be paying attention to. I've been the guy that I paid a guy to cut it. I didn't want to cut it myself, and I just wasn't happy with it. But like fescue, there's different types of grass. What do we have a lot of here in Tennessee?
So there's three types of grass that we see here mostly, and two of them encompass about 98% of it. So Bermuda is the native grass here. It's a wonderful grass. It self-repairs. The one issue people have with Bermuda is it goes dormant in the winter, doesn't like cold weather, and turns brown. And so when that happens, people look for a solution. They want green lawns all year round. And so we grabbed a grass from up north, a cool season grass called fescue. It does really well spring, fall, but tends to struggle a little bit in our summers because they're hot. They're dry. We often go times 45, 60 days without any rain, and without proper irrigation, struggles a little bit. And then kind of in between those is zoysia, also a warm season grass. Looks really nice. You can get it to look like a golf course as well too, but a lot of high maintenance required on that, also an expensive side of it.
Gotcha. So you mentioned it goes dormant, right? So a lot of people see brown grass and my grass is dead. Can you explain what you mean a little bit deeper into that?
Sure. It stops growing. The chlorophylls go away, and so it loses that green color, and it basically turns brown throughout winter. It doesn't need any water, you can see golf courses during the winter too that have Bermuda. It's all brown. Okay. And so that's why a lot of people, again, go to fescue because they really like that dark green, rich color throughout the year.
Yeah, so they can keep their lawns looking pretty all year long. What's besides the lawn looking pretty, right? Health is another big part of what you do. So what's some of the things people should be on the lookout for to be having a healthy lawn?
Sure. So one of the biggest problems we have here in Tennessee is weeds.
Yeah.
There's three different climate zones in the U.S. We have the northern, we have what we're in the transition zone, and then we have the southern zone. And so in the northern zone, we have all cool season grasses, fescue, rye, bluegrass, etc. In the down south, you have all warm season grasses, Bermuda, you have St. Augustine. But in the transition zone, we get a little bit of everything because we can't really decide which grass does better. And that's why we have cool season, which does really well in fall through the spring, and then the warm season, which does really well in late spring through the summer. And so some of the nice things about Bermuda grass is it's kind of a low maintenance option. It doesn't grow as tall, so it doesn't need to be mowed quite as often. It doesn't have a need for a significant amount of water, unlike fescue, which needs constant watering and attention to. But at the end of the day, it's just sort of a preference. How much do you want to care for your lawn, keep it mowed, keep it maintained, etc. As far as the weeds go, each set of grass has its own different set of weed problems. For example, this week, a lot of Bermuda clients are having issues with foxtail. Foxtail is a summer annual weed, pops up in the middle of the spring. It shouldn't be a problem for lawn care clients of mine, except in these situations like this year. It's been one of the driest starts of the year that we've ever had in the history of Nashville since they started recording this information. And some of the products we put down, like pre-emergent, which block the summer annuals from coming up, when that soil cracks, that pre-emergent barrier cracks and it pops up. And so having conversations with people when these things happen is really what sets Lawn Pride apart from everybody else. Instead of just saying, hey, it's a weed, we'll control it, it's, no, this is why it's happening. This is why it shouldn't happen. And all you really got to do is turn a sprinkler on when we get into a 30-day drought period like this in March, like we just experienced.
Sure.
Fortunately, it rained a bunch the last 2 days, and so everybody in the lawn care industry is like, keep it coming.
Yeah, no, and we need it for a healthy lawn.
Exactly.
A lot of the stuff, you obviously are a master of your trade, right? This is what you know and do. Knowing these types of weeds and the things that go into it. Homeowners that want to treat their lawns themselves, is there products out there that can do what you and professionals do? So
that's a tough problem. Tough question to ask. I love the DIYers. Matter of fact, a lot of my best clients are DIYers. And they'll have specific situations in their yard and they'll say, hey, Shawn, like, what can I do to fix this? And instead of charging them an extra service or whatever, I'll let them know. If they want to go to a lawn care distributor, purchase the product and do it themselves, I have absolutely no problem with them doing that. I want them to have as close to a golf course looking lawn as possible at the most cost effective price for them as well. And so I would say that's one bucket of homeowners that are willing to handle the chemicals, buy the sprayers, do all that work on their own, which I'm happy to give them the information, the tools on how to do that. The other bucket is I was just on a lawn the other day with this. Someone called me and said, Shawn, I think I killed my lawn. And I was like, okay, well, how bad is it? It's all brown.
Oh boy.
And I was like, all right, well, what'd you put down? I was like, well, I went to Home Depot and I bought 3 different types of herbicide and I put them all down. And then after a week, nothing happened to the weeds, and so I put it down again.
Oh boy, and no rain or anything,
no
right?
rain.
Yeah.
Another week went by, and they're like, well, I put it down again. And so in that situation, there's a couple things going on there. One, with weed control and proper weed maintenance, it takes weeks, sometimes 3-4 weeks, even for that weed to start breaking down. The weed controls that we use are systemic, and so unlike Roundup, Roundup's a contact herbicide that kills plant cells on contact. The stuff we use has several different modes of action, whether it be pushing growth to the extent that the weed dies, breaking down the central nervous system, breaking down the chlorophyll so it can't eat or use sunlight for food. And so we use about 20 different active ingredients throughout the year. And so going to a big box store and buying a big bag of old weed and feed or a bottle of, this will kill a clover in your yard, that's not really a great solution, especially since weeds are seasonal. So the weeds that we saw in February and March, winter annuals, aren't the same things we're seeing today. Today we're seeing spring annuals, spring perennials, and some of the summer annuals are starting to pop up now. Each season and each weed requires a different mode of action, requires a different herbicide. And so I think the biggest problem I see is people go to like the Home Depot and they try to fit a one-size-fits-all option to control the weeds in the yard. Not too patient with it, and killing their whole yard. And so that's why a lawn care company like Lawn Pride is really important in the partnership when it comes to lawn care, because we're going to alternate those herbicides based on the season, based what's in your yard, and based on the best way to control that without injuring the grass.
Yeah, and you talk about injuring the grass, and I see these videos all the time pop up on TikTok or whatever, and it's somebody burning their yard. Right, so is that a thing? People burning their grass before the next season?
Absolutely. It happens all the time. And it's not just weed control either.
And I mean lighting it on fire when I say burning the grass. Like literally lighting it on fire.
There's some techniques with some of the warm season grasses that they want to till it and kill it and then, bring it back and make it thrive next year. There's not a lot of ergonomics behind that, but, I'm sure you can find anything on social media these days.
You can. And then, so they light their grass on fire, then they cover it in sand, and I don't know what's happening there every time I see it.
I love the videos with the blow torches now. They're in their yard. They're like, this will take out the weeds. Sure, it does, but it's going to take out everything else right around it as well, too.
That's right. For homeowners that want to build a long-term value in their home, what's a path they need to take when it comes to yard care? Yeah,
so lawn care in general is probably one of the most best investments you can make in your home. So a study the National Association of Realtors did a couple years ago, a well-maintained landscape and lawn care adds a 10% value to your home. So if you take a look at the average sales price of a home here in Nashville, it's $750,000. So a 10% increase in value, you're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, the report also mentioned that out of all the outdoor features you can improve, the lawn care has the highest ROI. It has 217% return on investment for maintaining a really well maintained lawn.
And you know what it tells a buyer? If you're selling your house, you take care of your place, right? You take care of your house. The house is well maintained as soon as they pull up. And that's one of the things I've noticed in my home is it's such a big difference when I pull up to the house every day. I still have some painting and stuff I need to do, but that yard always looks good. So I can definitely see how that adds value there.
Curb appeal. Hi, this is Shawn with Lawn Pride. We offer fertilization, weed control, insect control, disease control, aeration, overseeding, everything in your yard to make it look absolutely perfect except for mowing. If you're interested in partnering up with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at 615-647-0669.
Value there.
Curb appeal is really important, and especially now here in Nashville, we have so many neighborhoods going up. And a lot of the homes, they're kind of cookie cutter. They each have the same amount of bedrooms, and you'll pull into a neighborhood and you'll have homes right across the street from each other. Both are for sale. One has a really maintained lawn. One never did anything to their lawn, so it could be patchy, could have a bunch of weeds in it. And if somebody's coming to take a look at both houses, before they even get out of the car, they're gonna believe the inside of that house is better than the inside of that house just by looking at the lawn. Just by the way that people maintain that. So it really does go a long way of increasing long-term value in your property.
Yeah, no, that's such a great call. When homeowners are shopping for a service like yours, what's some of the questions they need to be asking, who they're vetting, services that you provide that are important in this area? What are some of the things they need to know?
So that's a good question, and I have a lot of competitors out there, and some of them do a good job.
Yeah.
Some of them don't do a good job. And so it's difficult for me to tell a consumer, hey, go out and ask these companies, what are you putting down? Why are you putting down it? Because quite frankly, it takes years of studying and education for someone like me to understand exactly what's going down. What my recommendation would be is look at the results. Every neighborhood you drive around to this time of year, they're going to have a lawn flag in it. Right? Yeah. And look at the ones that look really, really nice. That's probably the one you want to get to. I also think in this industry, the smaller companies, the ones that can give you better communication, more attention to detail, and then have more attention to their technicians. And that's a huge piece of it. At the end of the day, it's the technicians that's out there doing the lawn care. And you want somebody that wants to cover every square inch of that yard and make sure every square inch of that yard is absolutely perfect and passionate. And I think you find that in some of the smaller companies as well.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point because, even in our complex, we're surrounded by some people that have, 50, 60, 70 vehicles that are out running around all day. And, they're turning employees fairly often, right? And it's not your industry specifically, but other industries. So what quality can you get out of that if you're constantly turning and you don't have people with experience like yours?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And even finding technicians in this industry, we oftentimes find they need to be completely retrained from the way that they've done things before. The way that the business models of other lawn care companies are set up. A lot of them are set up on how many visits are you doing a day. Ours is not set up that way. Ours is how nice are your lawns looking. At the end of the day, that technician isn't a technician. They're a relationship manager. So they're having that communication with the client. They're having that communication. They're making notes. They're prescribing certain things in the yard to pay attention to. And I think that's really the most important part. At the end of the day, lawn care is a partnership. And I always tell people this, I said, what I do is only 10%. Yeah. You have the other 90%. And I'm going to give you the tools and resources to do it. I said, but at the end of the day, I'm there once every 35, 40 days. I'm growing the grass and I'm taking care of all the weeds. Everything else in between, that is the partnership that we need to know. For example, water. I think that's one of the biggest things here in Nashville.
We're so bad at it, I think, overall.
And I think there's been a lot of misinformation about how much to water, how often to water. And I talk to a lot of these folks with irrigation systems, and I ask them, what's your watering schedule? They're like, I water 15, 20 minutes every day. And that's actually not the appropriate way to water a lawn. When you do that, you're only getting water on that top layer of soil. And so the roots of the grass, and fescue especially, it doesn't have to go anywhere to get water if it's getting it right on the root at the top level every single day. What we want here, we want to water twice a week, but we want to absolutely drench that soil. What that does, we have a hard clay soil here. And so when you drench it, it helps that water penetrate down deep. And then by delaying the next watering for 2 or 3 days, you're telling that plant, go down, get that water that's down deep. And when the soil's soft, and because with grass, the length of the root on the bottom is equal to the length of the blade on top because it needs to balance itself.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and so by getting that water down deep, you're telling those roots, get down there, get established, get very, very deep in there. And, mowing habits are another one. For example, you have a fantastic lawn. You don't irrigate it.
No, I don't.
And it always shocks me. Sometimes, we haven't had rain in 60 days, and I'll pull up there in August. It's like, gosh, man, I know he doesn't water. This thing is so green, but your mowers do an excellent job. They keep that grass about 4.5 inches during the summer, which is exactly what you want to do.
That's great. I'm going to tell him that, by the way.
And so all those things, that's kind of what goes into a Lawn Pride and why we really emphasize the partnership on it. It's knowing and communicating those things to people that really makes the lawns look great. And it's the small things that get the grass to last and look really good.
Yeah, and your communication with us has been great. Like, I told you this in the beginning, I'm not a big lawn guy. I want a good looking one. I just don't want to deal with it, right? My wife was the one who's, Tanya's like, no, we need a good looking lawn. We're going to fix this. And she's always been the go out and DIY it and do it. And we tried it for years and in this home, and we just never got it right. You come in one season, it's right, and it looks great. It's easy. I don't have to deal with it, which makes me really happy when I don't have to do it. I know when I got to the breaking point with my lawn, right, I started seeing brown spots, got patches everywhere. When should somebody really look into having a professional like you come out to their house? What are the signs in their yard?
Honestly, I really think everybody should have a lawn care program, not just because I'm in it. But the weeds in Tennessee are very hard and a challenge to control, just because they'll crowd out the grass, they'll crowd out the fescue, and when they go away, they're seasonal, and so eventually they're going to go away, and a new one's going to come in, and that leaves bare spots. And so the best way to prevent any weeds is having a really nice, thick lawn. It really creates a nice barrier from actually having any of the weeds come in there. But some of the things that we mostly see, outside of a large percentage of your lawn being weeds, any yellowing in the grass, any bare spots of that nature. When we talked a little bit about cool season and warm season grasses, they're both like different cultural environments in your yard. So for example, Bermuda, it's great, self-repairing, does not like shade. So if you have a lot of trees in your yard and you're trying to fill in the area below the trees and it's just not doing it with Bermuda, you probably have to take it into consideration maybe using some fescue in those sort of areas. And vice versa with fescue. It does not like a lot of direct sunlight, especially during the summer. So if you have a big open lawn and it's getting a lot of heat and not enough water, or even on a slope as well too, it's really gonna suffer. And so I always recommend bringing in a lawn professional at any point, even just to get to the base of knowledge on really what's gonna do best in my yard, what's gonna do best over in this situation, and put together a game plan. How do we get there? I think that's really important. Again, when you partner with a lawn care company, you want somebody that's just not out there spraying and praying and hoping the weeds go away. You want somebody that's going to, make the suggestions to kind of get to where you're at. Because again, we're in a very challenging environment. We've got grass is meant for the south, grass is meant for the north, but we kind of put them both here. We don't have our own grass.
We need to figure that out.
We should probably create some sort of hybrid grass that, some Tennessee grass that looks great.
Yeah. So, when you talk about my work and handyman work, right, we have certifications, we have, licensing that we got to go through to make sure we take care of our customers. And I know specifically some of the chemicals you deal with, right? You have certification stuff you have to have. Can you tell us more about that process and what it takes to become, a licensed, certified professional in what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another really important thing when you're looking at lawn care companies and just really anybody. You want to make sure that they have the appropriate licensures and the appropriate certifications of the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. The individuals like myself, that's a licensed horticulturist, you need a couple years of college courses, you need to take a couple courses with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and pass several tests just to be able to allow to own a business such as this.
Wow.
All the technicians as well too have to be certified with the Department of Education. They have to go through continuing education every year, meet those requirements, otherwise their certification is going to lapse as well. And so when you're looking at somebody to do these treatments for your lawn, it's really important that you get somebody that has that training and that licensing with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, because at the end of the day, it gets really complicated. And it goes kind of back to that box store, one size fit all option. If you have somebody that doesn't really know how to read the labels, how to calculate the exact application rates, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And I'll give you an example. One of the products I use 1.5 milliliters per 1,000 square feet. And so you're talking about just a tiny, tiny amount. And if somebody's got a big bottle of this and they're just dumping it in the tank, they're going to wipe out a whole lawn. there's a lot of other restrictions that we need to know about as well too. Considering applying weed control near a body of water. So if that goes into the body of water, into that stream, it's going to impact that ecosystem because it's going to take out the plant life in there as well too. So there's a lot of important things as a steward in this industry that you really got to be protective of. And I'll give you one more example. Grub control. We have tons of grub here.
Yeah. Big
issue. And the main grub control that we use, EPA says once a year. That's it. No more. If you have a beehive anywhere near you and a bee lands on that flowering weed after that's put down, it will take that back to a hive and wipe the whole hive out. And there are a surprising quantity of beehives in this area that you probably don't even realize. And so, even those simple things, really, you're not only just protecting your lawn, but you're really protecting your neighborhood, your community, and everything around you.
Yeah, and bees are extremely important to life, period, in the U.S. And not too far from my house, there's a massive bee farm up there. We definitely need to make sure we're paying attention to that. For everybody at home, I'm big supporter of Lawn Pride. They've been doing my yard for 1.5 years, so I think they do a phenomenal job. But most importantly is get a professional that knows what they're doing when it comes to this thing, right? Because if you want a good-looking lawn that will help increase the value of your home, you really need to have a professional to do it. Those chemicals are scary to me. So that's why I hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Shawn, I really want to thank you for the time coming out, talking to our guests, talking to the people watching the podcast, just to make sure that they're more educated at the home.
Well, Josh, I appreciate it too, and I'll put a plug in for Mr. Handyman too. You had a crew over there a couple of weeks ago doing the work on my house. I think they're there for a couple of days and too. So I just want to thank you. You've got a great staff over there. They come in, they're polite, they're fantastic. They get the work done, looks great. And so I really appreciate your handy services as well too.
Thank you for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on all the socials, and I look forward to seeing you next week.